Well, it's mission driven, right? And so I think that probably is what drove me to it. The thought of the impact and the outcomes of the work that we do actually helping people, keeping people safe, returning mom and dad back to their family at night is just kind of an honorable thing. And so when I understood the mission at 3E and what 3E stood for, it was easy to get behind the brand. And then I've had a lot of fun over those 11 plus years as well, getting to grow the business internationally and to help companies with their journey from like a reactive compliance to proactive compliance. And I think what is exciting about 3E and what keeps me here is the fact that it feels like we're just getting started, especially with AI coming into the space. I've heard for all of those 11 years, and probably folks even before me heard that companies were trying to be less reactive and be more proactive to compliance and to regulatory initiatives and pressures on their business. But that has always been a dream. It's been an aspiration and it's not been really tangible. We've gotten to the point where platforms and SaaS platforms and solutions have evolved and been able to trigger and alert and do specific things that help us get to the issue quicker, but they've not budged the safety curve. The safety curve has sort of just flatlined for the past many years. And AI, I think, is the first time where companies can actually literally shift from reactive compliance to proactive compliance. And that is a vision and a journey that I'm very excited for and want to be a part of. There should be a healthy level of skepticism around AI and AI washing and things like that. AI is math. It's not a magic wand. While it is probabilistic versus deterministic, which is what changes the game for folks, it isn't, like I said, a magic wand. So it can do some amazing things, and it can certainly take workflow and execute workflow in a way that was never before possible. But it's only as good as the data that it uses and the system in which it's governed, sort of the permissions and the roles and everything that it has within the organizational structure and within the business itself. And so when I look at the change, again, I definitely believe we're shifting from reactive to proactive compliance. And what do I mean by that? Well, instead of a worker having an alert that something happened, an agent can alert them that it happened and actually take an action on that and remedy potential situations on behalf of the human who's governing the AI while they sleep, while while they're doing something else. And so that is a whole nother level of control and ability to leverage your team, to multiply your team. And so, AI done well is a force multiplier. And so when you see AI that is doing big things in the world, it's because it is well governed, it is well built, it's using quality data so that it can be a trusted agent over a workflow that's needed to be completed. When that's not true, when the AI is not properly governed or when the AI is not properly fed with curated data, you get really weird outcomes, right? You start getting hallucinations, the AI tries to fill in the blank. And so I'm seeing both out in the market. And I think 2026 and 2027 are sort of like the proving years for the AI technology. We've heard for the past few years that people are using it, and 3E was using machine learning and all the predecessors of large language models to curate and normalize data for years. But this shift to where the models can reason over data and one can control the way that they reason has basically completely shifted the way people think about software and think about programming and think about workflow enablement in general. And so if you think that an agent can be taught to do a process and repeat that process to a high quality over and over, and you believe that that's a worldview that we're going towards, then like AI can pretty much do anything, right? And so that is what the people who see the value and the ability of AI, that's one camp. And then the other side is, the camp where you see AI, everything being spun up, and you see some of these hallucinations and you see some of the, AI that doesn't function very well. And it does make you suspect to, all of the AI initiatives that are in the market. think you have to be curious. And I think you have to lean into learning. You have to build a culture in your organization of continuous learning, because that is the path that we're now on, whether people like it or not. The AI is exponential. We've seen that it continues to grow and get better and better and better and better. Every model is a step change in functionality and capability. And so in that world, it doesn't sort of pay, as Sam Altman said, to be on a branch of the model. You got to be on like the nose cone of the rocket, right, as it's going up, and understanding what's changing in the market. And I think different organizations are at different levels of risk aversion. And so that risk aversion can really prevent you from doing some meaningful things. And unfortunately, that's going to mean that people get leapfrogged, that people's whole industries get, changed overnight in a way that industry participants today don't understand or may not be a part of if they don't sort of lean into it. And you see that right now. You see companies that are investing in literally everybody getting AI at their fingertips. And they say, well, okay, well, some people may 10x from the AI. Someone else may just get 15% more productivity. But in the end, who cares? Everybody is getting more productivity, right? The net is positive out of that. And so people that then decide, well, we're just going to give AI to this person or to that person, don't see the exponential growth of everybody improving by 10 or 15 or 20 or more percent month over month, year over year. And so just like compound interest matters and financial matters, that compounding of AI and people's use of the AI and talent is the tacit knowledge that helps in an AI world companies better compete. Yeah, I mean, it's just redundant cost. And that is a big driver of disparity throughout the business. You have different investment rates in the different programs. You have different levels of training within the programs. You have different quality of data within the programs. And then likely none of that is shared in between departments. And so that becomes very siloed approach to compliance. And that has been the way the world has operated for decades. And it just stands to reason, because companies grow and they purchase other companies with compliance programs. And so that's the last mile of integrating those companies. And sometimes that last mile never gets integrated. And so you have acquisition after acquisition and program after program that are left at the end of the day. I think SaaS software has, and through digital programs, we've done a good job of enabling that cross silo communication, but AI just blows the roof off of it. I mean, AI allows you to get into those systems across business lines, across geographies in a millisecond. Your latency is the speed of light, as they say. And so in that world, these silos are being busted everywhere. And the idea of actually having sort of a central command center on the business is becoming more of a reality than it ever has been. And in a way, by the way, that isn't like some insurmountable cost on the business. And if done right, on a cost basis that will continue to get cheaper and cheaper over time. I mean, when you think about that, right? It's the time sunk into all the manual processes today around compliance that gets automated to expedite workflow and get to an outcome with human over the loop, but not human in the loop. So the AI can run at the speed of AI, but then have some governance around it and over top of it to ensure the outcome. And once companies can trust that AI outcome, they can move on to something else. And it's not like, moving to higher value work for employees means that they just go do something that they used to do, but they can do more of it. That's true. But I think organizations will do other things. When people have free time, you start dreaming about the future. You start thinking about innovation. You start thinking about new markets. You start thinking about how can we grow the business. And think about a business that has 1,000 employees where 200 people were thinking about how to grow the business. And now all 1,000 people are thinking about how to grow the business. That's a fundamental shift in the way that they operate and the value that they can deliver for their clients. Oh, wow. There's probably a whole bunch of questions that you should be asking, but I think the first one is like, where does the data come from? How is the architecture of the model such that it's secure, that there's no backdoor where it's informing some general purpose model or some, proprietary model like an Anthropic or an open AI. I think it's really important to understand, do you have AI running at runtime, or is AI an enabler to create value and deploy value? I think it also really matters the organization that you're investing in, right? I mean, when you purchase anything from anyone, it's the start of a relationship. And when it comes to software, it's a long-term relationship because it's fundamentally being put in your operations to drive successful outcomes. And so you're making a conscious choice to work with a party for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And I think you want to probably invest in companies that have AI chops, because this is moving so quickly that if the organization themselves is not architected to move at that pace, you'll effectively buy a solution that will be out of date in 6 months to a year. And that's not a great place to be and try to explain to your boss probably on the other side of that. So I think security, how they architect their scalability and just their infrastructure for AI. Does the company have AI chops? Have they done this before and can prove success in production of these AI technologies? Security, obviously, are they taking the utmost security? And then do they have like ISO certification? Are they following the NIST standard? These types of things really matter. And you see the companies that are driving at the frontier are investing in those standards, are investing in following those frameworks to make sure that that security and that value is trusted. So it's almost like trust by design if you think about it. Don't be afraid of the AI. I think AI is here as an enabler, and all of the dreams and all of the aspirations that you had for the business on new markets to grow into, new products, all of that is doable now with AI. You can free up your time to have those thoughts, to have those conversations, to put time and effort into those initiatives if you use AI and if you start to like build your AI muscles within the organization. And I would just say that it's okay to do that in baby steps. It's okay to just get people access to the AI and let them play with it. In fact, this culture of learning is something I really would stress. When you're learning things, you're failing, you're failing often. Hopefully you're failing quickly and you move on. That experience, it's just trying to get on the front end of, the nose cone of that rocket. That is part of how you learn and is part of the success of leaning into AI. And if you just keep coming back and keep trying, you'll be involved and you'll learn and you'll grow from AI and all of the learnings that are coming out of it around you, not only in your industry, but in other industries where it may benefit you as well.